Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About the Ascension of Humanity, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern science and spiritual evolution gets real. I'm Heather, an energy healer, channel, and spiritual coach with Divine Ascension Company. Each week, we're diving deep into the mysteries of human consciousness, spiritual awakening, and the profound transformation happening within us and around us. But here's the thing. We're not doing this with our heads in the clouds. We're bringing neuroscience, psychology, quantum physics, and cutting-edge research to the table alongside meditation, energy work, and timeless spiritual teachings. Because the truth is, the ascension of humanity isn't some far-off cosmic event. It's happening right now in the choices we make, the awareness we cultivate, and the healing we do within ourselves. Whether you're curious about how mindfulness literally rewires your brain, why shadow work is backed by depth psychology, or what coherence between your heart and mind actually means scientifically, you're in the right place. We'll explore practices like breathwork, meditation, and emotional alchemy, not as abstract concepts, but as tangible tools grounded in both spiritual wisdom and scientific understanding. And here's where it gets even better. In our bonus episodes, you'll hear from real people sharing real stories. These are the warriors, the healers, the everyday seekers who've walked through their own darkness and found their light. They'll share their breakthroughs, their struggles, and the resources that actually helped them along the way. Because personal growth isn't a solo journey, and you deserve to know you're not alone. So whether you're just beginning to question the nature of reality, or you're deep in your spiritual practice, this podcast is your companion on the path. It's time to expand, to awaken, and to rise together. Let's begin. What happens when an 8-year-old boy, wounded by sexual abuse and convinced he doesn't matter, hear a voice telling him that he's deeply loved? Today's guest, Nathan Page, is an ordained spiritual director whose journey from childhood trauma to helping others heal is nothing short of extraordinary. After years of dealing with toxic shame, suicidal ideation, and maladaptive coping mechanisms, all while maintaining a relationship with divine love, Nathan found his calling in a practice that sits at the beautiful intersection of spirituality and therapeutic work. We're diving into what spiritual direction actually is, how it differs from therapy, the profound practice of holotropic breathing and silent retreats, and why people with ADHD might need to ride the wave instead of fighting the current. Nathan also opens up about his deconstruction from Christian institutions that didn't reflect the divine love he knew, and how he now creates safe spaces for others who've been hurt by religion. If you've ever felt like traditional faith wounded you, but you still crave that connection with something greater, this conversation is for you. Let's dive in. Nathan Page, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm super excited for you to be here today, so thank you for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey?
Well, I'm an ordained spiritual director. And I've been doing this now since about 2017, and this has been a great practice, just something that has been extremely helpful for myself. I actually received spiritual direction from a director. And I'm a part of a community of spiritual directors, and it's just been a really good community of people. I'm just noticed that when you're doing this kind of work, having good people around you is something that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about what a spiritual director does?
yeah, the way I have grown to understand it and how I've communicated it to either potential clients or clients that I'm currently seeing these days is when we are looking at our healthy attachment with ourselves or our understanding of ourselves, we often need usually like a divine source. Some people perceive that as like the universe. Some that have grown up within a religious tradition or within a religious circle often feel that they need a divine deity or divine entity,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a kind of unique understanding, or um they have this perception that they need to have like they need to understand that, okay, this is God, the Holy Spirit, potentially Jesus. Within other like traditions, there's just this sense that they need to have some sort of outside source
Mm-hmm.
that is also saying what feels like the same thing that we've kind of discovered in terms of healthy attachment, and that is that I am in fact okay, that I am deeply loved, that there is a divine source outside of myself that also has been saying to me since the very beginning of existence that you are okay, that you are deeply loved. Within spiritual direction, my job or my goal is I will have a client sit down with me, or if I'm doing a group spiritual direction session, we will describe what's going on in our lives. And it's paying attention to whatever that divine love might be saying to us in these ordinary spaces.
Mm-hmm.
So within that, I'm that really is the nuts and bolts of it. But we also get into meditations. We get into actual like breath prayer, a lot of holotropic breathing. Uh, we get into actual retreats, silent retreats, um, opportunities where we have even larger than three groups or direction sessions where people are able to hear what a person is saying. But as each of us understands that divine love in our unique ways, it's my job to be able to to sit there and watch these individuals actually cultivate that understanding or get a deeper, richer understanding of what that divine love might be saying to them.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So you mentioned holotropic breathing. What is that for the people who don't know?
Holotropic breathing is, and I actually, within my own like faith and tradition, I would probably put myself in more of a Celtic mystic Christian standpoint. And what I've understood is that a lot of times when either prophets or wise men or shaman often have these divine encounters, I've noticed that it seems to be in moments of like thin space.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have experienced and what I have led people in and been led in myself when it came to holotropic breathing is a sense of coming in contact almost with like a dream space where you are able to encounter a more like stripped down version of yourself, as well as a more open standpoint to the kind of the divine. Um, I've heard a lot of different definitions or a lot of different explanations, and you might even have one that might actually have better clarity than what I've been able to provide here. But within my experience, it has been just this profound moment where you seem to be able to the veil between what is seen and unseen gets a lot thinner,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been usually what the exercise has been used for both myself and what I've done with other people.
Is that kind of the point of the silent retreat as well, as to try to get to that space?
Yeah, yeah, and the plus the its very idea of um simplifying your time and creates a great sense of discomfort, especially in our current culture, just how we operate. we are really kind of functioning in this space of like, oh, I've got my smartphone, I've got my computer, we got all these different subscription services. It does kind of create that environment where you really do, you have to force yourself to kind of step into this like new, a little bit for or a lot uncomfortable space. And it does kind of open up possibilities for an individual. And I invite people to do holotropic breathing during that entire chunk of time, and or for large sections of it. And if they need, if they need to be trained or given the actual steps to be able to accomplish it, which I mean, a lot of times it can be challenging to actually do it just on your own.
Mm-hmm.
But often I will start with holotropic breathing, and I will also end with it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the retreat can be anywhere between 10 and 12 hours to sometimes an afternoon. Like there's a lot of opportunities where I've been able to do it like on a Saturday, and um individuals have been able to like step into that space, and I've been really surprised how much an individual can get out of doing a silent retreat for just 6 hours. But I mean, obviously we're talking about a culture now that's like, it's our attention spans are shorter.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of energy that we put into multiple things at the same time has just doubled or tripled or quadrupled.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually not even sure what the numbers or what the stats are these days, but I know it's intense. So yeah, I would that's would probably be a major component to it. But yeah, I think it's the slowing down and making sure that you are aware of, and what's great about a silent retreat as well is that you do have a lot of opportunities to grow in a lot of self-compassion, because as you are trying to meditate or as you are trying to focus on whatever prompt or whatever guidance I might be providing at the beginning, you there will be moments where your mind will drift, and it's just natural.
Mm-hmm.
And to actually offer a person that level of compassion and tell them, hey, it's okay, like you actually can continue to do this, even if your mind drifts to whatever it might be. Maybe ride whatever it is, wherever that might be taking you. Like if you feel like you are hitting a tangent, that actually might be where you're supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe my prompt might not even have anything to do with where that divine love or that divine source might actually be trying to take you.
Mm-hmm.
Or your healthiest self, your most healed self might actually be wanting to take you in an entirely different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And to give yourself a lot of grace and a lot of compassion. Self-compassion is a huge part of what I do.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've personally never done a silent retreat. I have a lot of I've come a long way, but I still have some work to do yet with clearing my mind and keeping my mind from drifting. And I get asked this question a lot from people because I have ADHD and they're like, I can't turn it off. Like, how do I silence my thoughts and try to get to that space? Do you have any suggestions or tips and techniques that you use to try to get people with those overactive minds to kind of be still?
So in my experience as a guy that also has ADHD, I the times when I have actually been able to succeed in actually quieting my mind has been when I have been a honored been able to receive the honor to participate in a sweat lodge.
Okay.
That the level of, I think, both physical discomfort as well as a deep spiritual space, I have found myself to be able to, when I was done after the fifth movement within this sweat lodge. Um, this was like probably about a year ago. This had happened. It was over a weekend. We'd done, I think, three different sets of holotropic breathing. Each session, I believe, was anywhere between, I think, 30 minutes to about an hour and a half. And then we finished out the weekend all doing the sweat lodge, and I just walked out of it, and I, rehydrated, but that was it. I had no further thoughts or anything on my mind.
Hmm.
It all just processed almost completely out of my body,
Wow.
and whatever drifting thoughts, and I was calm and at peace in a way that I had not been in probably about 6 months.
Hmm.
And like the moments that I talk about in regards to doing like a silent retreat or doing a spiritual direction session, like there are great moments where you feel encouraged, nourished, uh, filled up. Like there's a sense of love that like I kind of like using the illustration that we each have this love cup that's at the core of who we are. And we like, for many of us that are on this journey of more self-awareness, we do understand and acknowledge that there are certain things that we can do that will fill that up, that will quiet ourselves down, that there will be particular situations that usually would cause us anxiety, discomfort, even duress or great frustration. And depending on how much we have been able to kind of fill that cup up or have that cup filled, we are able to handle or how we manage or how we deal with the particular situations.
Hmm.
This like that is very much dependent, or that is very much what is kind of it it changes our perception of how we deal with the world.
Hmm.
um and so I would definitely, and I'm trying to think of exactly where that actually within our uh within our practices and within our awareness of what we do need. And again, for those of us that are on this journey, we know what fills us up, what
Hmm.
actually helps us to be able to navigate the world in the healthiest way we can.
Hmm.
uh, to show ourselves the most love and compassion that we can, to show our neighbors and our friends and those that also are within our world are potentially causing duress to people that we do love and care about.
Hmm.
Um, but being able to handle those situations in the most mature, healthy, um, compassionate ways that we can.
Right.
Um, and I want to make sure that I did in fact answer your question. I'm trying to think if I did or not.
Just the sweat lodge was a good example, but just other ways to actually be able to clear an overactive mind.
Yeah, with I know that for myself, if I try to will my if I try to will myself, or if I find myself in a situation where I'm not able to calm my mind down or not have my mind drift or be in a state of peace, I know that if I catch myself or I realize, oh, I'm still going a mile a minute, I kind of see it as like a wave, or even almost like a water slide or a water park. I know that kind of is the opposite of peace, but there is a there's a destination. There is a pool at the end of that water slide. And I think that a lot of times those of us that do have ADHD, that if we find ourselves getting distracted as we're trying to meditate, that we try to identify where that path might be. And in that, that actually might take you to a place where you might be settled.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do find that I'm able to get more settled if I try to fight against this river's current that is my ADHD. I almost always just find myself less centered than if I just go ahead and ride that wave
Right. Just
or
let it flow.
or ride down that slide.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, what made you decide to get into spiritual directing?
Well, for me, when I was eight, um, 8 or 9, I was raised in the Christian tradition, and I was, unlike many of my peers and many contemporaries that would identify themselves as Christians, many people like move towards that faith out of a I came to faith in like not like 93, 94. It was after a pretty intense year, 18 months prior to that, where I was sexually abused multiple times by a friend's female babysitter, which I know that is a very different framework, a very different environment, a very different world to hear about. But and I know that the percentage of boys that have been um um assaulted by female predators um is very, very small. Um but I know, but it was something that, and at the time, what happened to me was, and I realize this now, after doing a lot of internal work and a lot of therapy and a lot of EMDR, and just a lot of great supportive people around me, especially over the last few years. Um, I, um, I had this view prior to um, that assault. I, had this view in my head, and for my own family of origin, get into a little bit of family systems theory and all that jazz. Um, but I had this belief that I didn't matter. I didn't have any value. I didn't belong. Um, and I had a voice really in my head that was saying that even if you asked for help, like nobody would care. Nobody wanted to support you. What's going on here, it even if it was wrong, uh nobody would care.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, you effectively do not matter. And this incident, and also the predator that even told me that, yeah, even if you tell somebody, nobody's going to care.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't, it like it's not going to matter. And so for me, I like, this was a profound moment of just hearing a voice that was there, and then also having this predator actually mimic that same statement to me. And so I was just hurting, just like, 8, 9 years old. Um, and I remember sitting in church, and I just felt like this interesting, like, voice from the divine. I like at this and at this point, like, I clearly, it was tangible. I could feel it, and I saw it as this opportunity to, or I what I felt like was this invitation that, Nate, like, I deeply love you. I care about you. You matter to me. And it was just this profound moment. And I said, I want to know you because I'm lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sad. I don't feel like I have a place like I want I want to be friends with you. And so, and that's the experience that I got. And I just had I did have an interesting, profound, feeling and sense of what, to use some religious language here and even some Christian tradition language. And that is I felt the Holy Spirit. I felt like a new sense of wind and air, around me,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and within me. And it was just this, just profound. And so that was just deeply impactful. Had a lot of complicated and difficult situations that occurred over the next 32 years. But I eventually got to the point where I was uh I'd gone through a deconstruction with Christianity. A lot of the Christian institutions I just looked at and I was like, this does not reflect that relationship, that voice
Mm-hmm.
that I kept hearing, and that is how deeply loved I was, and how deeply loved the universe was, and how deeply loved every individual was.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this profound disconnection. And so I just didn't have any desire whatsoever to interact with these Christian institutions. And so, I found community. I found people that also had similar experiences. At the time, my wife and I were both a part of that community. But I had, because of the shame of that abuse, I had developed some issues with um, my almost every single one of my coping mechanisms had started to fail me in my 30s, and I realized how maladaptive those were. And so I begun drinking in excess, and I was continuing to deal with I was dealing with suicidal ideation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized that I had basically been dealing with that since the abuse when I was 8 and 9 years old. And I realized almost every single time when I would be with, or I would make a mistake, something mundane. And my go-to was thinking, oh, I don't matter. I don't belong. Um, despite my relationship with that divine love, I still found myself just being I'm not done the self love, that the very necessary,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd say very important component of, if you can hear how much divine love cares for you, that relationship will matter. I think that in a lot of ways, that's in fact what saved me from actually moving towards any kind of completion of suicide,
Mm-hmm.
because that was what I always had, that kind of as a grounding for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to my other relationships or any mistakes that I would make, my go-to was that the world would be better off if I was gone.
Yeah.
And so I as I dealt with the deconstruction, as I was still dealing with my own toxic shame, as I was still dealing with the shame of that abuse, um, a lot of things from my family of origin, a lot of messy situations with my now ex-wife, um, I realized that there was I got reignited towards divine love again. That there was that I started to engage that with greater intensity. Not actually, 'cause I what it ended up being was that I didn't really understand how to actually take care of my own needs, or even identify my healthy needs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had my attachment system is that I'm a fearful avoidant. And so I was always in this just obnoxious push pull in many of my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And so that experience was very messy and very difficult and very challenging. And and I'm moving towards secure attachment. I'm moving towards actually identifying what my own healthy needs are. And, in this experience and this movement towards spiritual direction was very much a major component to that. But spiritual direction was first introduced to me by a organization called the Soul Formation Academy, based out of Portland, Oregon. And they hold retreats, and I believe we are now on cohort 28. I believe that the organization started in 2012. Um, and we have roughly about 500 directors that are all a part of it. And they come from a lot of different spaces. And they serve a lot of different groups of people. Um, uh, not all are Christians. Not all really identify with of like a faith. But usually our primary criteria is that do do our clients have a understanding of, are they seeking that desire to be deeply loved? Do they believe that there is something outside of themselves that is pouring into them, that they are experiencing this divine love, or that they desire to experience this divine love?
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, what I've noticed is that through conversations, I had found that people that have no experience, either negative or positive, with any elements of the Christian faith, that they know exactly what I'm talking about. They know who I'm talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I know who they're talking about.
Right.
And it just is this beautiful, just universal dance of just that there is an energy being poured into individuals that we can tell, like we can tell that that person is in love with this divine source,
Mm-hmm.
and that divine source is deeply in love with that, and they're just this beautiful cohesion. And so that within that organization, that was where I was able to be trained, and I received support, as well as like I have a supervisor myself, as well as uh, a director that I see that's also within the organization, and we just have a very healthy dynamic, in terms of just that we do have a little bit of oversight with each other. And then we have an annual retreat, and just it's a great organization, and it's like I feel like every person that is there, it's a sense of like brotherly and sisterly affection, or older father, older mother, grandfather, grandmother. Like there is just a beautiful connection that I feel like we have together, very, very family oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been an area in my life that I've been deeply thankful for, because in some of the hardest moments of my life, I know that I have been just nourished by these folks' presence.
It sounds like a really strong, amazing community. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what are you doing now? What are you working on? Do you have a practice?
Yeah, I see clients individually. I also see couples. Um, what I usually will do is, sessions are usually about 50 minutes. I see people via Zoom. I can see them via Facebook Messenger. I can do phone. And usually for individual clients, it's in between if 50 to um, uh, 80 minutes long. And usually once a month. Sometimes depending on what's going on with an individual, I potentially can see someone once a week.
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of those things, you kind of, you're able to pop in and out. And I obviously I develop relationships with my clients. I definitely want to make sure that they know that I care deeply about them. What's also great about it is that, like, this is not therapy. I am, in fact, like, I do attachment healing work. Like, I am trauma informed. I do understand where where the therapeutic circle and the spiritual circle often will intersect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But within my practice, really the goal is to actually be asking questions and making sure that I am in a space where I'm able to listen and listen well, because in a culture where we are always looking for, the next thing that we want to say, or the next question to ask, that to actually be listened to and seen
Mm-hmm.
by someone is very rare.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be able to say that, yeah, this is the space that I occupy, and I'm here to actually delight and be excited to hear what you want to share with me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to sit in silence? Do you want a meditation? And often, like, what I will do, after usually my first session, which I offer a 30-minute consultation to kind of get into, hey, what do you know about spiritual direction? What are you hoping to gain from this? Um, where are you at on your spiritual journey? Where are you at on your own personal, like, self-love, self-care, self-growth? Um, and so I will actually write, like, customized meditations for them to be able to practice kind of on their own time.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually we kind of do like a little bit of a check-in to see how that actually, like, worked for them. And sometimes I actually will, like, if they find themselves having a hard time with reading it, I will put a meditation on my YouTube channel, and I will share that with them, um and they'll be able to pull it up, and they'll be able to actually, like, follow that meditation, and uh, usually in the evening or the morning. It's usually the times when I recommend an individual puts it to work. I've got a handful of them that are free on there, that are kind of general. Um, but what so so divine listening, being there to ask questions, um, helping couples be able to kind of interact with each other, recognizing where often divine love can actually be a serious source in, okay, if my partner is having a hard time meeting my attachment needs, and if I'm having a hard time, um, like, identifying what my own self needs are, or how to best care for myself. If I'm in the process of developing that secure attachment, like, I was anxious, preoccupied, or I was dismissive avoidant, or I was fearful avoidant. The goal is that where can divine love actually show up and help you meet some of those needs that you might need your partner for, but and often it's okay to ask your partner for, like, that could be something that was agreed upon, but depending on the situation, their ability to care for you might be diminished, just because life is just so busy and so complicated,
Mm-hmm.
that they're able to start to identify, oh, maybe divine love actually did show up for me here, or divine love can show up for me here.
Mm-hmm.
If, like, I want to actually put a little time, a little energy in this meditation here, and actually get that attachment need actually actually care for, actually get that need met.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's those kinds of conversations are always just like, I love those kinds of conversations,
Mm-hmm.
because, like, so often I know with our partners, we look at a situation and we start to say, oh, yeah, they're just not there for me. I just don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tried to work it out, and the partner will explain, hey, I'm just going through this season. I want to be there for you. I know, but I know this is a project I'm working on, or this is a major life event, and I know that I will bounce back. Well, I know that I will recover from this, or death of a parent, or death of a friend, just moments where grief has just kind of overtaken them,
Mm-hmm.
and but they know that they will get to it, they will get through it, but you and you also want to be there for them, but you also do recognize that it's not healthy for you to not have, because we're not talking about a want, we're talking about a need. This is something you do in fact need.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you get that met in a healthy way? And a lot of times there is some resources in reaching out into the universe, into divine love, and saying, I need this. Can this be filled?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's kind of the main the main projects and things that I do. Right now I don't actually have a silent retreat on my current calendar. I've kind of gotten my feelers out there, and if there are individuals that are interested, I do have kind of a pool of individuals these days that are kind of have a bit of fluidity to their schedules, so they would be happy to hop in and be a part of it. But yeah, I'm kind of in that kind of transition stage these days, and just checking to see where people are at. I also I do workshops in terms of, if you were raised as a Christian, um, and you find yourself that you are still kind of feeling inclined towards uh, kind of a Christian understanding of divine love, or Christian understanding of God, that they would like to kind of explore or see how interacting with that space in maybe a healthy way, or even work on actually like healing and describing or being. I'm an individual that loves to have conversations with those that have been really hurt by the church, and really hurt by a lot of Christian institutions, or a lot of Christian subculture. And like, I love to be able to give space to those individuals and offer opportunities to have their voices heard,
Mm-hmm.
and see if there might be a path toward healing, where they may never set foot in a church building again, but they're able to see, oh, there were certain things about that tradition that I actually still kind of like, or I might even still want to lean into. Like, there might be a spiritual practice there where I actually feel like I am being encouraged, or I'm being filled up in a very positive and life-giving way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, that is another area, another domain that I like to lean into. Again, that's not necessarily on the calendar, but it's one of those things that I am, um like, I advertise, and I also, if depending on interest, I usually will provide it. And I've got a couple of different locations that I have access to, that are they're warm, inviting, very very open, and just good spaces. So.
Awesome. If someone was interested in utilizing one of your services, how would they be able to find you?
One of the best ways to reach out to me would be on Facebook, and that is Barely Spiritual Direction. That's spelled Bearly. And all you got to do is just you find me there, and that'll connect you to my WhatsApp, my business phone number, as well as my email. And you can message me any any point in time, and I would love to chat with you. And if any of these things sound interesting, or if it would be something you'd like to explore, and this is one of those things that I am quite passionate about. So, I get 3-4 people together. I'd be more than happy to host something.
Awesome.
Because I know it just, there's a lot of pain that people have experienced from a lot of Christian institutions. And so I really have a big heart for wanting to care for those individuals.
That's amazing. I am grateful for people who do that, like yourself, because it's unfortunate how often it happens, and not just Christian institutions, but Catholic and all other denominations of religious belief. But it's unfortunate because it's supposed to be a loving, caring environment, and it happens too often. So thank you for all that you do. I am truly grateful for these services that you provide. They sound amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. Like, this has been a great opportunity, and I've checked out your website and your YouTube channel, and I definitely tell people that they should subscribe.
Awesome.
That it is being, I think anytime we have practitioners that are offering meditations and becoming more aware, or dropping down, or they're actually moving to a higher state of consciousness, like in this plane where we're at, I it is so desperately needed. Like, that's it. Slowing down, allowing ourselves to breathe is just so important, especially with how chaotic it seems like the world just continues to move towards. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
absolutely.
Yep. And thank you so much for coming on today. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I look forward to hopefully speaking again with you in the future.
So good.
Awesome. Thank you. That's all for today's episode. If you're ready to go deeper into this work, head to divineascensionco.com to explore my programs or book a session. And if this episode helped you see something new, the best thank you is sharing it with someone else on this path. And if you've been feeling called to experience something truly transformative, I'd love for you to join me on a sacred pilgrimage to Egypt in September 2026. Spots are limited. Visit divineascensionco.com/Egypt for all the details, or reach out if you have any questions. I'll see you next time.